Hello and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it is all about the monster. I'm Joe Praska.
And I'm Khalid Hussein.
We're a podcast that picks out movies and looks at their featured creature, monster, beast, alien. Usually we'll be looking at movies, sometimes TV shows, sometimes maybe books, comics, or other things like that. But this week we'll be talking about a movie, which we'll get to
Could
in
we
just
do
a
like
moment.
fast food mascots? Is that a thing?
You know, I actually thought about that. Maybe. If there's enough desire for it out there, maybe our dear listeners can comment on that.
Let's do the creature from Mac and Me as like a backdoor to the McDonald's play place creatures.
Smart.
Yeah, this is all just a long con to find a platform to rant about Grimace for me.
Yeah. So how are you doing, Khalid?
I'm chilling. I'm doing my thing.
Yeah. How's it like to be back? This post-first podcast episode bliss, number 2 now.
I'm excited. We got love from a few listeners, literal day ones. So that was cool. And then I listened to it, and I'll be honest, I got through like every minute of it without hating my voice. So we're on to something, buddy.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. It's tough. It's tough to listen to your voice. It's tough to hear the weird like ticks that I say. Like when I was listening to it, I said the phrase meat and potatoes, which I've never said before in my life. But
That was new.
yeah, new experiences for all of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, Khalid, do you want to tell us what movie we're talking about today?
Oh, do I? All right. So this episode, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite sci-fi movies from 2011, Joe Cornish's Attack the Block. And I'm going to just hit y'all with the quick synopsis, plot, whatever, off of IMDb this week. It's got a nice, concise one for you. Attack the Block follows an unlucky young woman and a gang of tough inner-city kids who make an unlikely alliance to try to defend their turf against an invasion of savage alien creatures, turning a South London apartment complex into an intergalactic war zone.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
So, Khalid, I think I can already tell, but what do you think about the movie?
This movie slaps, dude. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. I want to like Paul Revere it just like town to town with like a bell on horseback, just letting people know about this movie, even though it's already almost 10 years old. It still holds up. So cool. What's not to love about it? I don't know where to begin, honestly. Like, I get overwhelmed just thinking about it, but like, let's just like start with the simple fact that like it just creates like the like coolest gang of kids to hang out with under like the most like extraordinary of circumstances, and it's like lets them be like a little bit like, you know, hard crusted. Like they get to swear, they get to like fight, and then like the stakes are actually high. Like people are getting killed, and it's like at the end of the day, it's like this like pack of like little hood rat kids that like I would totally hang out with if I was that age. Man. How about you, man? What did you think?
Oh, absolutely. I loved it. It's super fun, super exciting, funny at times, meaningful. So I was actually thinking that this was a good companion piece to the host from last week, because we talked in that movie about how it mixes like social commentary, humor, subverting tropes, and kind of blends that all together. And this movie does that too, but in like a different way. It's its own movie, but it does all that stuff. And I suppose we should take a step back too and just point out that this movie is directed by Joe Cornish, who he kind of hung with the Edgar Wright crew, right?
Yeah. He's a part of that group. The producer on this has produced everything Edgar Wright has done since I'm pretty sure it was Spaced. So yeah, like this is very much like the Edgar Wright brand of like energy. And like if you've seen At World's End, you will see a lot of the same kind of like verve and energy, even though it's different directors. Like just the way the action is composed, there's something about these guys where they can make a genre movie and still like explode outside of the confines of any specific like header that you want to try and give them.
Yeah, so you'll see a lot of the same kind of DNA in some of those Edgar Wright films as you would in this one. And on top of that, we have some stars that a lot of us in the geek community will definitely recognize, and in just general community. We got a young John Boyega,
Yeah, we do.
a young Jodie Whittaker, who we now currently know as the 13th Doctor from Doctor Who, for those of you that might not be sure what I'm saying there. And just a generally, maybe some lesser known folks, but a really good rounded cast.
Yeah, Franz Drame, who plays Dennis, the samurai sorted teenager. He's actually kind of big now too. He's in Legends of Tomorrow.
That's right.
And he was in a recent movie. Let me just cheat and go over to IMDb. Yeah, he was in Edge of Tomorrow, dude.
Oh, that's a great movie. We should do that
Yeah,
one someday.
the recent movie I saw he was in was The Gentleman. He doesn't have much of a part in it, but it's still like a cool attack the block. Yeah, you're still working. But yeah, man, you're right. This cast is stacked. And John Boyega, I swear to God, I will always say this. I don't care if people believe me or not. After I saw this movie, in my mind, I was already insistent he had to be in a Star Wars. This movie reawakened my love in sci-fi at a time when I was in college, a little bit more into what dude bros are supposed to be. I'm pretty sure I told at least one person to really think about Boondock Saints. I don't know what that means, but I told them to. So this movie really reawakened that childlike wonderment that sci-fi brings for most people. I swear to you, I never had that kind of attachment to Star Wars or any of the seminal classics that everybody always points to. There's just something about them that there was always an extra layer of association to it. I never saw myself in those worlds, but this was my world, dude. And John Boyega is the awesome archetype of the kind of kid I thought I was at that age, where it's the apartment complex where most of the action takes place is just like the apartment complex that I grew up in Minneapolis, the Cedar Riverside building, shout out. There's something about it, when you've lived in an apartment complex like that and you're a kid, you in your head make that its own world, and you use the ins and outs of it all, and you have it in your head. And so it's really cool to see someone like Joe Cornish bring something so familiar to me, even though it takes place in London. It's still such a familiar setting to me, and make it the showcase for an alien invasion. Get out of here. 8-year-old me, get out of here. I'm done. I'm out of here. My head's exploding.
To build off kind of what you said there, it really is its own kind of movie. Like you said, you didn't really buy into some of those quote unquote classics, but the thing I thought was kind of special about this one is it is its own thing, but it's also it's an homage to a lot of that old school filmmaking, especially 80s filmmaking. We have elements of the Warriors from Walter Hill, John Carpenter's Attack on Precinct 13, Spielberg, The Goonies, and it pays homage to those things without copying the aesthetics of it, right? So it builds on those ideas thematically of those outcast kids getting in an adventure like this, and it doesn't make us feel like we're in the 80s like something like Stranger Things does, but rather it just has it infused in its DNA, I feel like.
And I like that you bring up Stranger Things, because whether you like it or not, these movies do, I don't know, these properties draw comparison to each other. It's a bunch of kids dealing with a supernatural or extraterrestrial threat, and they, for better or worse, are going to get compared. And I think that this movie really underlines what I don't like about Stranger Things, which is that I can see these kids having a life outside of the fantastic scenario that we are watching them in. I can see the lives that the kids in this little London apartment complex neighborhood have to do to get by, and their anxieties about it all. And there's a real world understanding to them that makes it that much more exciting when they go out and fight. With the Stranger Things kids, I feel like somebody just took every 80s or 70s pop culture thing that got somebody excited, put it in a blender, and then these kids came out. I don't know how else to say it. It's just it feels almost like everything that Netflix does, an algorithm more than a person. So I don't know. No shots at Stranger Things. I still love it. I'm still a fan.
Same.
But if you're asking me to pick which group of kids I would hang out with, or which group of kids I believe even, it's the Attack the Block kids all the way.
Yeah. And one of the other things that you kind of gently touched on was just the sense of like social isolation the kids feel in the film. Like they're loyal to the block, right? And the outsiders are almost villainous in a lot of ways because it takes on some of those things like social class, racism, economic disparities, and just shows how isolating that stuff can be.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And there is just kind of like this, almost like they're adults via nihilism. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's like
yes.
that they're fighting these aliens, like at least at first, because like they want to be like big tough boys, and like there's something so exciting about it, and it's like, again, also just very believable. You know what I mean? You get a bunch of 14-year-old kids together, and a small animal like crashes from the sky. They're probably gonna kill it, right? Like they're probably gonna attack it.
Yeah.
So that was totally believable. But then it's like when the stakes really hit, and those like gorilla dogs, which is what we'll be calling the creatures for the episode because they don't actually have a name. But these gorilla dogs, like when they come in, it's not, oh, let's go get our parents or let's go get an adult. It's the adults suck. Most of them want us arrested. Let's just handle this like we have to handle everything else in our lives. And it's so cool that intersection of like socio-political commentary and just like all around like BA alien fighting get to just like come together.
Absolutely. There's a quote from the movie that I wrote down just because I feel like it really puts a nice bow on exactly what you were saying. It's when they're trying to speculate what the creatures are. John Boyega's character, he says, the feds sent them anyway. Government probably bred those things to kill black boys. First they sent in drugs, then they sent in guns, and now they're sending monsters in to kill us. They don't care. We ain't killing each other fast enough.
And you know what? Even with the like knowledge that they came from space, I'm still kind of like, yeah, man, it was probably the feds. Like
it's believable.
like
It's a believable part of the story. Like you could have went that direction with it.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, as black people, like I don't necessarily know about like black people's history in like Europe or London specifically, but in America, you know, just dating back as far as even Tuskegee, there is a reasonable amount of distrust that black people have for authorities and like governing institutions. It's a reasonable fear because spoiler alert, we did not have a very auspicious start in this country. So I get it, man. I get it, like that distrust. But I also love that this movie does what every other movie is kind of afraid to do, and they stop at that. They don't. No one's sitting there in that room arguing with him about like, yeah, but what if it's an extraterrestrial? Because at the end of the day, guessing where this thing came from is maybe like the 9th or 10th like priority on the list of things you have to do right now. And it's so cool. Like they're so about their business, and the movie just has like that kind of just sweet rhythm of like, you're never like sitting there going, okay, where is this going? You're very much invested in every scene because you know that it's all just stacking up consequence upon consequence and action, and it's great. I keep coming back to it. I don't know what else to say. Like I run out of words to say other than just gush about it.
So onto the creatures themselves, actually, what they look like for those of you who haven't seen it or haven't seen a picture at this point, which if you haven't, maybe pause this and go watch the movie because it's fantastic, as you can tell from our gushings over it. The creatures are the idea of like gorilla wolf dog kind of things really should maybe harken that image in your mind. They're black furred, sort of ape type creatures that move around as if they're like running on all fours, like a gorilla would run. And the only thing that is not black on the creatures is this just intense like set of teeth that glows like a tealish green blue color, like bioluminescent jaws is basically what they have. So
and they spiral all the way down the throat.
Yeah, it's horrifying. And so what they do, what the idea that Joe Cornish apparently had, is he wanted the creatures that could almost like look two-dimensional against the backdrop of a really dark alley or a dark corner, and then only thing that makes them pop is those glowing teeth, right? Just that enough that you almost like, oh, are those eyes? But it's teeth. So to say the least, the creatures are effectively terrifying.
They're very terrifying. And then like there's like the fact that like you think that the eyes are like that the teeth are eyes at first is like such a great touch. the little details that they put into its movement are so fascinating. We both watched the creature feature bonus on the DVD, and it was two guys in the actual practical costumes throughout the entire feature film. The lead person in the costume was Terry Notary, who's like gone on to be like a pretty big actor, right, Joe?
Yeah, he's a well-known stunt coordinator, actor, and his main gig is a movement coach, a double and a movement coach. So he actually kind of invented how the creatures run, right? That kind of gorilla movement. He actually had to hold like arm extenders and like run on all fours like that.
And it's so cool when you see like how they do it too in the bonus feature. I highly recommend getting the DVD just for the bonus, because I've loved this movie for over 10 years, and it was the first time I saw it, and it just gave me such a new angle to love it all on. I just need to watch bonus features more, I think.
Bonus features are great.
They really are. I'm gonna just start YouTubing them. But so like the way that Terry and his partner like came up with like the movements, even it's like it's counterintuitive. Even if you were to run on all fours, it's counterintuitive to how you would run on all fours, just to make it more believable for how this animal would do it. And it's so cool. And they're doing like crazy leaps and stuff while wearing these heavy electronic gizmos, and man, like the amount of thought that goes into like all of it is so fascinating, and it pays off too, because like that animal gave 20-year-old me nightmares.
Yeah, and kind of contrary to the host last week, which was pretty much entirely CGI, most of this, as you could tell from hearing that it's dudes in suits, very little CGI is done on this. And Joe Cornish intentionally wanted it for not only budget reasons, but he wanted there to be like a sense of tangibility with the creatures and the fear that the actors were having when interacting with those creatures. Like just imagine being on set and you're like, all right, then you just start seeing this person in a black furry suit with glowing teeth running straight at you. Like that can definitely bring out some real feelings on set, I think, right?
Yeah. It would terrify the crap out of me. And that actually brings me to my next point, which is last week I brought up a new metric that I'm going to try out with some of these animals. We'll see what happens. It's called the 4 Bears test, and it's a simple question. Could you replace the titular or the primary monster in a monster movie with 4 bears and more or less get the same story? I don't know exactly what the point of the test is, other than to just make people think about 4 bears attacking, but that's enough for me right now. And if I come up with a more educated answer, I'll give it to you, but you're not getting it, not now. So for this movie, it's a little tough, because for about 2/3 of the movie, it aces the 4 bears test, because it's really like these things are actually smaller than the average bear from what I could tell, and children can defeat it. So yeah, it passes the 4 bears test for about 2/3, and then the third act is just like hundreds of them like coming together, which where were they for the whole movie, dude? I'm just realizing like there's so many of this movie would be, I guess it would be a lot shorter of a movie if that many had shown up at first, but I'm just like, what's the story with them? Like what were they like? Were they terrorizing another group of teenagers somewhere else? Like give me that sequel. But so the third act kind of fails the 4 bears test, but I'm going to give it an overall pass, because so much of like the danger and the suspense and the plot before it like really, really hinged on just a couple of these beasts around. And that's just as scary as 4 bears, guys. Don't kid yourselves.
They do a really good job of making them seem alien and animalistic. Like they're not really like intelligent creatures, it seems like. Like, do you remember the noises they made?
Yeah, I remember they said that the sound designer basically just made like every animal screaming, including like a woman. Like that's the noise they make, and it's like, yeah, that's what I hear.
So here I have this written down. It was the echolocation noises made by the creatures were a combination of dolphin sonar mixed digitally with the grunts and snarls of dozens of other animals and even a woman screaming. So yeah, mix that all together. That's what I heard. It's kind of you could pick out those individual pieces, Khalid.
Yeah, in a lineup. Yeah, if you just like made all those animals scream, I'd be like, yep, that was there. Saw that in the movie.
Yeah, and And on top of that, one of the other things that I found was kind of interesting is, like we've talked about and kind of gushed about the practical effects work, but there was a little bit of CG work done. And a lot of the work was done by a company called Spectral Motion, led by Mike Elizalde, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He did a lot of work on like Guillermo del Toro films, which I'm sure we'll touch on in this podcast. But he talked about like some of the post production pieces. They added those rows of teeth that you mentioned that just spiral all the way down, because you can't. It's hard to get
down
that
the
practical.
throat.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to the throat because it's like, how unpleasant must that be? Like teeth in your throat. Like I already hate when I get like a popcorn kernel flake
Oh yeah.
back there. Like, can you imagine if a tooth just there?
Yeah, and just multiple teeth. I'd like. Do they? Like some species like lose teeth a bunch and regrow them. Like, do they just lose them and then just eat them?
Honestly, I don't blame them for being so irate. If we're being frank, like that would keep me cranky too.
Yeah. And I found an interview online with that Mike Elizalde, who runs Spectral Motion. And he talked about designing these creatures, and I thought this was kind of interesting to bring up. And he said, and I quote, "So what we did is we created the creatures out of fur suits, put in the electronic elements and so on. When they shot, they retroscoped out every single aspect of these creatures so there's no contour to them whenever they're in the darkness. If you watch the movie again and you watch carefully, there isn't any reflected quality to the aliens at all. So all you see are those ferocious glowing choppers. It's a pretty great idea that he came up with," and he's referring to director Joe Cornish. And that, just to give her credit where credit's due, that's from an article from Daily Dead.
Yeah, and the darkness really like does so much. Like on the joking level, like the one dude who's like, "Oh my god, that's blacker than my cousin." Like that was hilarious in and of itself. But with these kinds of monsters and stuff, like even if you're doing it practical, like they really benefit from like just like shadow, like the dark, and to make this thing literally as like black as night is like such an extra level of terror, where it's like it's bringing the shadow with it. You know, there's, I don't know, it's like it's like how like those kids were reacting like criminals that see Batman. You know, it's like. That thing is here for trouble. Like there's something about it, like cloaked in black, leaping off of like buildings. Like it's got its sights on you. It's always gonna evoke a feeling of like terror. So it's like kudos for going that route with like the design choice. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but Joe Cornish actually said that he came up with this movie watching Signs. Like he saw Signs, loved it, and he was like, wow, what if this had happened in like my old like neighborhood growing up? And I love that. Like that's the kind of like cool little like, wow, there's a direct correlation. Like I'm 100% sure that there's some sci-fi that has been inspired by Attack the Block, but to know that that was like almost entirely inspired by another sci-fi movie, which probably was inspired by another, like this podcast is like awesome specifically so that I can maybe find like a through line. I'm going to have like my wall just like littered with like papers and like strings connecting them by the end of this. Like that's what I truly believe, because the influences and inspirations that come with all of these movies is so cool to like discover.
So you're going to have like a sci-fi monster movie murder board on your wall.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a lot of really cool references in this too. I don't think I mentioned it yet, but I thought it was really fun how the kids just came up with different names for the creatures every time. There was like the gorilla wolf dog thing they called them, but with more expletives.
Yeah.
But they also at some point called them gremlins. They called them Dobby. They called him Gollum, which they don't look anything like any of those things.
That was probably more of like these kids definitely watch Family Guy.
Yeah.
And like they know they have to like inject pop culture references into their day-to-day at least 20 times to be cool.
So ultimately, Monster's pretty cool, huh?
It's pretty cool. Pretty great monster. I'm a fan.
Me too. I'm a big fan. They're super unique, scary, effective. But the big question that I have for you, Khalid, about these monsters is, would you fight them or flirt with them?
Oh, the big question. For those of you who might just be catching up on this as your first episode, we have a segment that was actually contractually stipulated. I would not do this show with Joe unless he let me decide whether I would fight or flirt with the given monster of the week. So, that being said, this week, I'm going to have to go with fight because last episode, my rationale.
Last week.
Last episode, my rationale was that I would flirt with the host monster because I don't know why I'm gendering it. It was super like capable of just like eating people on the fly if it really wanted to, but it grabbed a few of them. It took them back to its house, to its little sewer thing, and it needed company. And I was like, I see that in you. I see how starved for companionship you are, and I can bring that to your life. This week, though, I gotta say, if there's one thing that these monsters didn't seem like they were lacking, it was company. They're pack creatures. They already are like obsessed with like the one female in their species, as far as I could tell. And I'm not a competitive guy. Like that. If there's one thing you need to know about me is that if there's a challenge, I will shy away from it, and that goes doubly for like wooing or fighting for the attention of a gorilla dog against like the queen gorilla dog. Like that's not fair. Like, what are you gonna put me up against like Beyonce for Jay-Z's love? Like that's never gonna work. I'm out of there. I lose. So that being said, they don't really need the company, and honestly, the like littlest of children were murdering them. So I really, really believe I'm a 30-year-old man. All right, I'm a grown man. Okay, I like pay cable bills, so I think I could take this beast out if I had enough warning. But yeah, if you give me enough of a heads up, like I'm sorry, like the 14-year-olds beat you, children with super soakers beat you. I think I can beat you.
So the verdict is
fight it.
For those of you listening, the movie began with the female coming down. I don't think we mentioned that earlier. The female was the first like smaller creature that came down that was killed, and then all the furry ones were presumably the males that were coming after it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like the one. If I had to have one critique of the movie, like that's like it's when you even get like plausible answers about these creatures that it all starts to fall apart for me. Which is like, what is your species' end game? Do you all just like mate with the girl? Like, does she just lay a bunch of eggs like a spider? Which fine, fair, but you also just like not even in spaceships or anything, just like somehow telepathically like hover through space and like go wherever she goes. It's all, I mean, once you accept it's aliens, you kind of have to accept everything else that comes with that,
right.
With that being the case. And to the movie's credit, it didn't try to answer those questions, so I don't even actually have anything to criticize other than the suppositions of the characters.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff that's kind of wonky is pretty much just speculation by some of the characters, and as we know throughout the movie, like a lot of them are incredibly high throughout some of the movie, so you can kind of see the leaps they take to get there, which I'm willing to accept. I'm willing to accept that's not probably the accurate answer for the creatures, but I like that that's what they came up with.
Yeah, no, I think it was like a believable like thing too. Like if you got high and watched a nature documentary like 10 minutes before everybody comes busting in talking about aliens, you're probably gonna be like, I just heard about this thing that might be it. Like, yeah. He's not an encyclopedic dude. Like he literally just like mentioned something he saw on TV. Like honestly, it would have hurt them if he wasn't so dead on about it, but. Like in real life, it would be like, oh, I just saw a Facebook article about this. I'm the expert. Like that's that guy.
All right. Before we take off, I think it's important to note that our podcast is on Twitter and Facebook. So if you enjoy it, please find us there, Frankenstein's Podcast. Khalid, where can we find your work?
No, I'm not working right now because of Corona, like everybody else.
Yep.
But if you want to keep up with the stuff that I've worked on in the past, I have a few short films that are One is on Aspire TV. It's Who You Know, and then a short film that I produced is currently in a few festivals. It's called Hermit. Yeah, if anything big comes up, I'll post about it or tell Joe to post about it. But other than that, you can follow me on my Instagram. It's nappy_Gilmore_, spelled how it sounds, I guess. So yeah, check me out.
And you can follow me on Twitter. It's my name, Joe Praska, Praska. So you can follow me there for all my hot takes. I also am doing some writing for Twin Cities Geek, as I mentioned in the first one. I had a few recent articles come out, and I'll generally share those. But if you want to see more from me, it's twincitiesgeek.com. So yeah, subscribe to this podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts now. Maybe leave a review if you like. Otherwise, Khalid, do you want to mention what we're talking about next week? Next time?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, this is gonna be the first monster or creature I have no knowledge of from before, but it's from the movie Ultimate Beastmaster. So I'll be coming in fresh. So you guys are gonna get just Krispy Kreme, fresh and ready, hot, light on opinions from me. Joe, what is the name of the monster that I'm going to be Krispy Kreming about? God, I don't like that I described it like that.
Yeah, it's staying in.
Okay.
They're called the Winged Devourers from the movie The Beastmaster in 1982, a classic sword and sorcery flick. It's a big change, a left turn from the stuff we've been covering so far. So it's not like a monster movie or a horror movie. It's an old school fantasy. So it'll be kind of fun to see where that takes us.
Yeah. So check that out.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye.